So apparently my parents talk about a lot of heavy stuff on their podcast. Listen at your own discretion. Like, comment, subscribe, and share or whatever. Anyways, welcome to Sobriety.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm Ryan. This is Jess. We are sober as fuck. Before we get to today's guest, I want to remind everybody we are available on every platform out there. You can check us out at our website, safpodcast.com. That's safpodcast.com. Like, subscribe, share, comment, review the podcast.
I think you hit them all that time.
Bam. I'm getting better. It only took me like 100 episodes.
We need to just how have we not recorded just you saying that and just put it in the intro?
I don't know. It's just fun to do it.
If only there was someone who produced this podcast and edited it and uploaded it, who would make that happen.
Yeah. That would be a good thing.
Shut up. I do everything for this podcast. You do nothing. You just sit there and look
I am the
pretty.
idiot behind the microphone.
Sure.
That's me.
Uh-huh. Behind the microphone.
Yeah, look, I'm behind the mic.
Mm-hmm. You are behind the mic.
Right.
I recommended ditching the headphones, and you were like, but they make us look so official.
That's right. And I can hear, I like hearing myself. I can tell when I'm getting too
Listen,
damn loud.
that has been the case for 16 years. You most certainly like hearing the sound of your own voice.
I do. Well, I crack myself up.
You do.
I talk and I laugh at myself. And it's just,
you do. You are a one-man show. Oh,
there it is.
We need to get divorced immediately.
If I
we have
sold
been
tickets
married
to
too
my
long.
show, I would sell out because I'd buy everyone. It's a great show.
I think that you're way there is not enough attention on the fact that we said that at the same time. I'm a little disgusted with myself right now. We are not codependent people. We have just been around each other too long.
Way too long.
I want a divorce immediately. we don't have to break up, but I think that a divorce would do us good. That's it.
There you go. That would definitely change it, I'm sure.
That'd be kind of fun. You get divorced and then remarried. It would really fuck with people.
Maybe. I think we've had some family members that do that. Have done that. I know you have.
I don't know. A lot of my family's from backwoods, so there's no telling. Okay.
Yeah.
Backwoods, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
In when I say backwoods, I mean in the literal woods.
Yes, I've seen it. Small place, little dot on the map. Literally.
It's an unincorporated, not town, but I can't remember what it's called.
I don't either. I don't know. They don't have a damn gas station, which is crazy.
No, they don't.
They do have a post office, though.
Well, I mean, you got to get mail.
Yeah, but how are you going to get to you if no damn gas?
You get on your horse and you ride into town, I guess. I don't know. Get on that tractor.
That's right.
So, with all of that said, who do we have today?
Today, our guest is from Colorado. Her name is Louise Barnett. Louise is an author of the book Tainted Love, a bipolar memoir. She's a Jay Shetty, who we love, certified life coach. And she has her own podcast, which is Unmasking Sobriety and Mental Health. Louise has been sober since 2021.
Nice.
And I cannot wait to hear her story.
Me too. I love that it fuses sobriety and mental health too.
Yes,
that's a big
part of us. That's right.
It is the main and only part of us.
Yes.
So I'm excited.
All right. So let's please welcome to the show, Louise Barnett.
Hey.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh my gosh. I am just sitting here. My heart is racing. I'm like, it doesn't get old, this idea of just throwing your entire self out there.
Yes.
And the nerves that brings along. But no, I'm so excited to hear. I'm a firm believer in sharing stories to help others. So I'm so excited. I
love it. And we're glad to have you on here.
Yes.
We appreciate it very much.
I always tell people, it's you're literally standing naked in front of the world and bearing every scar, every dimple, every beauty and imperfection. And so I think that it's good that you never numb to that. Because the moment you numb to that, I think is when you need to go, I need to
something's wrong here.
Check in again. So
yeah.
I don't know about in person, this I'm squirrel moment, but it looks like your lipstick and your shirt match. And I just want to say that
naturally.
I love
Red,
your
red is
nails.
the color.
Oh gosh,
I love it. I love that. I love the contrast of the hair and the glasses and the red. Like,
Thank you. I've
perfect.
committed for a year. My book cover has a big red smashed lollipop on it. And so I have committed to the color red for the foreseeable future.
Well, it looks more pink on here just because of our lights, but that is actually a maroonish dark red. It's just, when we made it, we didn't think about those things. And red was my mom's favorite color. So I'm very partial to red.
Love it.
Love it. So go ahead and tell us about like your book and your podcast. Go into that first. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I am everywhere. Really, the easiest place is probably just my website, louisebarnett.com, and that'll take you to all the places that you need to go. So yeah, I've been kind of doing a few projects since I left corporate America at the end of 2021. And initially it started, it was, maybe we'll talk about it later, but like I really had a mania infused approach to my sobriety. And one of those approaches was to get my life coaching certification through the Jay Shetty School. So I've been coaching ever since then. And part of my brain has always really had this draw towards the creative. Like I just always kind of need to be creating something or making something or doing something. And so once I got my coaching practice kind of up and running and kind of running itself in a way, I was able to do a couple of things. One of the first things, actually, it was really important to me to have my business offer services to everybody, especially in the addiction space. I feel like there are people that just can't afford it, right? And so I started my community, Unmasking Sobriety and Mental Health Community. We have 3,500 people now on Facebook, and that is and always will be a free resource for people in the community, in the mental health and addiction space. And one of the other things that came out of my drive to be sober was the podcast. I mean, I started it for myself, like selfishly, really, right? To reinforce my own sobriety. And I said, I want to tell my story, but I want to hear other people's stories. And so it's an interview-based podcast like yourself, hearing other people's stories. The mission of the podcast is to create survival guides from our collective stories. And it's had its evolution over the past 4 years. First was really kind of around addiction specifically. And then, like we talked about kind of backstage, was this idea we can't really talk about addiction without talking about mental health. And obviously my story is hugely rooted in my bipolar disorder. And so I kind of flipped the script about 2 years ago to really embrace that narrative. And so it's a lot of fun. We release every other week, and then I'll do bonus episodes in between if my mental health allows me to.
Right.
And then about 2.5 years ago, I've had people say for a long time, Louise, you should write a book, yada, yada, yada. I think a lot of us hear that when we have these stories. And I was finally at a place where I was actually out of work for physical disability. I have some chronic illness stuff. It's super boring. We will not talk about it today. But it had me out of work. And it was this like amazing blessing of being able to actually say, like, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to do it. And so here we are 2.5 years later. Tainted Love, a Bipolar Memoir comes out October 6th. And it is the story of 15 years of my undiagnosed bipolar life told through the lens of 4 turbulent romantic relationships.
Wow.
So it's edgy, it's fun, it's sexy, it's tragic, it's all the things. I'm excited. I'm excited for it to come out. So.
Those are like all my favorite things.
I was going to say that just hit all her.
He likes to tease me and tell me that I'm addicted to reading, which I don't think is a thing. I mean, it probably is, but I refuse to admit it. Right?
It's definitely a thing.
I know.
According to Dopamine Nation, that is an addiction. Just saying.
Because I read constantly,
nonstop,
and if I'm not reading, I'm listening to an audiobook. And so I can't wait to read. I mean, that sounds like
that
everything.
sounds awesome.
So can you pre-order it now? Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Like on Amazon, your website.
Yeah, pre-orders available on Amazon right now in Kindle format only. Obviously, we'll have hardcover and paperback and audios coming too. But if you just search Tainted Love Memoir, or, any kind of combination of those words, it'll pop up. We're actually number 14 right now for
Wow.
new
Hell yeah.
bipolar books. And it's like not even published yet. I am dying.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so please pre-order it. That'll definitely help those numbers. And, like any platform, like anytime somebody orders or comments or anything, like you're spreading that algorithm and you're essentially helping other people's lives when you do that. And so, yeah, please go ahead and you can grab it on my website too. If you wanted early access to the full manuscript, just fill out the form on my website too, and I'll add you to the list and you can get the full copy in August instead of October.
Sweet.
Well, I will do that immediately.
That's
So
right.
my daughter, we went and saw the Housemaid movie, and I had read the book a few years ago, right? Before they were coming out with the movie. And so I took her to see it. And then she's like, I really want to get into reading. She just hates reading stuff for school, which I think is very common. When you're forced to do something, it's never enjoyable. So I was like, well, you should read Housemaid. Like, you've already seen the movie, so it'll be an easy read. And I have it on my Kindle. You just borrow my Kindle. Yeah, I did not get my Kindle back. She's like, you can't have it back. She put stickers on it and all this stuff. So I told him, I was like, it was yesterday. I said,
it was yesterday, yeah.
I'm just going to buy a new Kindle with a new charger and everything. And happy Mother's Day to me. And I looked at her, I was like, no, you don't have to get anything for me. I'm just getting this. So I got my Kindle today. So that'll be the first new purchase on my Kindle. I'll do it immediately. And we'll also, we'll put all of your information in the description for the episode, so you're easy to find. And we will add you to our Amazon storefront. We put all of our guest books on there, or any books that we read. So yeah, we're happy to do all of those things for you. So everybody go buy it right now.
Right now. Go.
Right now. When you're finished listening to the podcast,
Yes,
of course.
of course.
Don't log on.
First listen and comment on the podcast. And
Exactly. And share it. And then go to Louise's podcast and listen to hers, and then go to Amazon and buy the book.
Comment, all the things.
No pressure. No pressure. Before we get into your story, I do want to touch on this because with my ADHD brain, I will forget. But something that you said that I absolutely love is how you want to make information free and accessible. So, we're in that phase of our podcast and our stuff where everybody's like, monetize. And, of course you have to make money at some point, and there are things you have to monetize. But the biggest controversy for me that I've run into is I refuse to monetize this part of our podcast. Not that we won't do special episodes or live streams that people can subscribe to, but that's been the biggest thing is I'm like, we will maintain normal everyday jobs if we need to. We didn't go into this to necessarily pay our bills. It would be a dream if it becomes that.
Sure. Yeah.
But I refuse to monetize the podcast, sharing people's story for the same reason, because that a lot of people can't afford it. I mean, we're already working under the assumption that people even have access to a device or a phone.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. And I just think that that's amazing, because that's what keeps it going, right? Like you said, we want to share people's stories. Our story, you can only tell it so many times before you're like, okay, you got it.
We've heard it.
And it's only two versions, yours and mine. There are a million out there. So with
I love that. And I think if I don't know your experience, obviously, but my experience, I did not follow a traditional recovery path. My recovery path was listening to podcasts, right? I think a lot of times in new sobriety, that is kept secret behind the scenes. There's shame associated with that. And so to be able to just, without paying a subscription or anything like that, to just go on and very privately put your headphones on and listen to somebody's story. I mean, that is so powerful and impactful. And I love that kind of you're reducing those barriers, right? For people to get the support that they want and that they need.
Yeah. I mean, we sell merch and stuff like that. Not that we, there's always a way to make money. I just don't want
Yeah.
it to be the driving force. And something else that we offer that I should really advertise more, that's on me, is we have a blog online. I had toyed around with the idea of having like a virtual journal for people so they could go on our website and, just write their stories. I worked in healthcare for a very long time, nonprofit. So we would put patient journals in the waiting room and people could
cool.
write in them anonymously. We had a lot of like, refugees, women in bad situations. And so they would write little notes to each other and they would read them. And so we thought, well, why don't we just do a blog and we can put on there, but there's a place where you can submit your own story and it, it emails it to us and we look over it just to make sure that there's no hate speech or anything in there. But you can do it anonymously and you can go on there and you can, maybe somebody wants to share their story, but like, I don't want my name behind it for whatever reason. So same kind of deal like that. It's so important because, any recovery, like traditional recovery space, that's what it starts with. AA or meetings. You go to the meetings because you're there with people who are sharing their stories.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree. Having a space where you can listen and not have to pay is awesome. But Louise, what led you here? Who are you? Tell us about who you are. I know, loaded question, right?
Loaded question. I mean, I've been imagining dying since I was 1999. I was a sophomore in high school and my mind really turned against me for the first time. Some thoughts, when you have them, they will never let go. They're going to be part of you forever. And in 1999, when that switch completely flipped, my teenage innocence and happiness unraveled. And I tried to reverse it. I tried to do everything I could, but I was a different person after that moment. And if you're listening and you're like, what the heck is she talking about? That's like so poetic. I'm talking about depression. And quite literally overnight, a switch flipped and I was in one of the deepest depressions of my life. And I turned to self-harm, cutting. I turned to anorexia. I turned to anything that would erase. I did not turn to alcohol. That was something that had not been introduced to me and was not part of my family's values. I was raised the daughter, one of three daughters, the middle daughter of immigrant parents. So my parents are from Zimbabwe in Southern Africa. And they were both, well, my dad is from Zimbabwe, my dad's from Zambia and my mom's from Zimbabwe. And they were both independently the first converts of their country to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Mormonism. I think with everything going on right now on Hulu and Secret Wives, we should all know what that's about.
Oh God, that's a conversation for a whole
other podcast. And it's not in the book either because it's just like a whole nother thing, right? But I was raised Mormon. I was the second child, black sheep, raised in a Mormon family in the United States. I was born in the United States. And, I remember from like a young age, my mom always saying like, I knew you were never going to make it. I just, from a very young age was not adaptive to that culture and that religion. And so 1999 comes, I kind of fall into this really tragic depression. My parents did, if I told this story 30 years ago, it'd be a very different version. I'm 43 now. So looking back, my parents did the best that they could with the resources that they had at the time, right? I mean, mental health, and again, with their, background and culture and where they came from, like this was just not part of what they understood. Mental health was not something we talked about. It was something we brushed under the rug, right? So when they learned that their daughter, they learned I was cutting because they had read my journal. They went into my room and took my diary and read my diary. And my diary contains massive entries about suicidal ideation and cutting and self-harm and anorexia. Those excerpts are in the book. And their response was to send me to Utah to stay with a family friend, Mormon family friends. They were friends of ours growing up, and they had since moved to Utah. They had a son my age, a son maybe 10 years older, and the other kids were not at the house anymore. And so I spent the summer there, and unfortunately was a victim of trauma. And so I came back from that trip on a vengeance to redefine myself, on a vengeance to get new friends, get a new boyfriend, and do anything that would erase. And that's when I was introduced to alcohol, and had, at this point, completely revolted against anything my parents stood for, anything they wanted. It was youth in revolt, quite literally. And so I think one thing that I kind of consider a little bit unique about my relationship with alcohol is that it never started as fun. Like that was never the goal. The goal from day one was to put something into my body to change my mind and change my brain. And so that really was the beginning of 15 years of daily debauchery. Alcohol within a year turned into cocaine, and, really any drug I could get my hands on. I was using cocaine daily for many years of my life, many of my college years. Getting to college was another transition because, in high school, you're living at home. You still have to be home every night, right?
Yeah.
There's a degree to which you can totally
accountability.
That's what I say, accountability.
Exactly. You can't totally blow up your life. But when I went to college, I didn't have to do that. And so there were no bars when I went to college, and it was every drug, every man, everything that I could get my hands on. And what I didn't know for all of these years is that this entire time I was using alcohol and drugs to support my undiagnosed bipolar symptoms. Bipolar typically manifests in men and women, but I'm going to just speak generally for women, in your early 20s, so college years. And it, on average, takes about 10 years to get an accurate diagnosis. So for me, I had already been diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and I was taking SSRIs, which, side note, SSRIs flip you into mania. So somebody with bipolar should not be taking them. And so, unfortunately, it comes down to self-medication, with a lot of these things, but an unawareness, right? Because there was no awareness that I had mania, that I had depression, that I had any of this. It was just my body was asking for something, and my brain was asking for something, because whether you're in mania or depression, it's moving too fast. There's too much going on. And I can talk about, as a 40-year-old, 43-year-old, what I do to help calm that brain down, because that hasn't changed. The brain is still very busy. But in those years, not having the right support that I needed from a young age, and then, my choice to completely flip, against my parents and how I was raised, led to just a complete disregard for myself and self-worth and anything that was important to me. So thus kind of college graduation starts. I don't know if I'm blurry for you guys, but I'm blurry for me, and it's driving me nuts.
Take a moment and fix it. It might be your autofocus. That happens a lot.
We're gonna fix this.
That's totally fine.
That's okay.
I was going to say, you can take a minute, because any of this stuff, I don't ever stop filming if I need to cut something out, because it just makes it easier for me to go in and just go boop and pick it out.
So am I blurry for you guys?
I think it just goes in and out of focus.
Oh, because the camera.
Yeah, so I don't know. You can maybe check your camera. Are you on a Mac?
Yeah, but no, it's not my Mac camera. It's like a...
Oh, gotcha. There you go.
There you go.
That's better. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, that stuff dries me.
No, that's
Okay.
totally fine.
So
So if you want,
distracting.
listen, that's why we say we can edit stuff out,
Yeah.
right?
you.
It's not a big deal.
You're like, this
you
bitch is making me edit this podcast.
no,
Actually, I thought it was.
never.
I just thought it was sometimes it gets a little grating with people or it stops.
Yeah.
But when we go back and watch it, it's perfectly fine.
It's fine.
And I would
Nothing
never
happens.
probably
think
is.
that. I would
Yeah.
never think that. Like, I don't
Our
ever, I
French taste
mean,
bill.
we've
It's all
had people
good.
where their kids have run in,
That's right.
dogs. We've had our Wi-Fi go down,
Yeah,
like,
shit
everything.
happens.
It's fine.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
All right.
And you can just pick up from, you were talking about college graduation.
Okay, perfect.
Just whenever you're ready.
Perfect. College graduation is essentially the next step in my journey, and it's ultimately where the book picks up, is literally the day of college graduation. I went to Skidmore College in upstate New York. And I think I'll kind of just go into a quick, how my goal with the book is to really showcase the progression of bipolar and addiction through the lens of these four men. One of the most common misconceptions around bipolar disorder is that you're experiencing these like really intense manias or really intense depressions, like from day one, and that kind of stays the same throughout your experience. And that's one of the reasons why it is so hard to diagnose, is because that's not the case. It's insidious, right? It kind of, there is a progression to it. And a lot of it, unfortunately, because we're now talking about individuals in their early 20s, well, that's when we are rebellious, and that's when we are having fun, and that's when we, so like you can kind of chalk it up to that, oh, well, she's just, going through a phase, type of behavior thing. So, when I look at love in my life, a couple of things that I've learned is that I've learned that you can love someone who breaks your heart.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned that you can love someone and evolve past it. I've learned that you can be blinded by love. And I've learned that you can love someone so deeply and still need to leave.
Mm.
All of this love is real, and very little of it is right. And for 15 years, I didn't realize I was sick. I thought I was searching for someone to ground me. I treated romantic connection like an antidote to the void that I was experiencing. And when I was flying high, I craved, passion that matched my intensity. And when I sunk low, I latched on to anyone just to avoid being alone. And this created a cycle where my four major relationships weren't just love stories. They were symptoms of undiagnosed bipolar disorder. And it begins after college graduation with Marco. He's the forbidden. He is in the Italian mafia in Rhode Island. He's a restaurant owner. He's married. It's a very high stakes 4-year affair with this volatile character. This was a cycle of, hidden, what I call couch confessions, taking us till 4:00 in the morning, telling each other our deepest, darkest, desires and secrets, really driven by a desire and a need to want to be inside. A common thread for me my whole life is that I've always been on the outside. I've always been looking in through a window at a community, at a person, at a place that I wanted to be, but I couldn't get inside. And Marco was that person for me, ultimately ending in, a very forced exit out of his dangerous orbit, which threw me straight into the arms of Jim. Jim was 17 years my senior. He was in his early to mid 40s when I met him, and he was a waiter in a restaurant. That was his biggest life ambition, and man, he did it well. And he, ultimately became a relationship of complacency, Marco is somebody that I don't even know if I'm over Marco. Like, I'll be totally real, right? Like, Marco is the man that like you don't get over. And so Jim was like a very easy distraction. The gym years consisted of, daily cocaine use, marijuana, alcohol. Jim kind of, it's interesting, like when you look at individuals' different habits with substances, like Jim was a wake up, drink whiskey in the morning alcoholic. Whereas I kind of always kept my, until later, kept my addictions like saved for the evening, which, is part of the conversation around saying like, well, I'm okay, right? I'm not drinking in the morning. I'm not, you kind of can justify your behaviors in certain ways. Ultimately, Jim got diagnosed with a stage 4 head and neck cancer. And I ended up marrying Jim to get him onto a health insurance plan that I had opened up for the small business that I had just started. And so it was really a marriage of, it was a business deal, right? That was it. Got Jim through his cancer. And upon completion of his cancer, we moved to Annapolis, Maryland for a fresh start. A family member had offered to kind of take us in for a little while. And when I got to Annapolis, like when I landed there, it was kind of this, it's interesting. I actually just posted something about this the other day, this idea in Mania that the entire world, your view of the world it's like the vibrant filter was just put over the world. The grass is greener, the flowers are brighter, the sky is bluer, things are like actually literally sparkling. And that's how it felt when I touched down in Annapolis. And I had a job at I was a sales and catering manager at a steakhouse, up in steakhouse in Annapolis. And I met Luke. Luke, who is now 7 years my junior, so a lot younger than me. And still married to Jim. This is the love at first sight, whirlwind, just instant connection, do anything for this romance relationship. Jim at this point had dipped so deep into his addiction. He was passed out by 4 p.m., 5 p.m. at the latest every day. He wasn't working. He had, I think his cancer diagnosis, he had already thrown his life away and it never came back. And so I drove straight into Luke. I remember one night driving across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. It was probably 2:00 in the morning. I was with Luke and I just out of a whim picked up my phone and I was like, hey, Jim, hey, yeah, I'm not coming home tonight. I'm not coming home tomorrow. I'm not coming home ever. I'm going to be with Luke for the rest of my life. And he was like, what? Like, are you serious? And I was like, gotta go, bye. And hung up the phone on Jim. And that's how I ended that relationship with Jim. And within a month of knowing Luke, I was begging him to give me a baby. And Luke is my boy of my baby blues that will give me anything I want. And he gave me a baby. We got pregnant. We had known each other for maybe 2-3 months. We had already managed to live together and, all the things. And it was December 21st, 2012. And I remember it being a full moon and I was alone in the apartment and I was staring at the pregnancy test, 2 blue lines on a blue stick. And my body was shaking and tears were streaming down my face. I was pregnant. And the next morning I woke up and we had this beautiful apartment. It was like on the water and I just loved this apartment. And that morning when I woke up, I looked around and everything had changed. There was like trash everywhere, ashtrays everywhere. The kitchen was stacked with dishes. Like it was as though somebody had like lifted me up and transported me to this like absolutely disgusting space. My head was pounding. I remember going to the bathroom and looking in the mirror. I had like sags under my eyes. I didn't even recognize myself. I was like, who are you? And Luke had come home that morning. He had gone out to get milk or something. And when he came into the bedroom, I did not recognize him. He looked different. His hair was different. His smile was different. His voice was different. The way he walked was different. And all I wanted was to escape. I wanted to escape. I wanted to get out. I didn't understand what was going on. It did not make sense. I was in a movie. And within a week, I told Luke that I was going to have the baby, but that I couldn't be with him. And Luke didn't take that well and ended up storming out that day, essentially. And so I was alone, single and pregnant in this apartment that I couldn't afford. I lost my job because Luke and I worked together and somebody blew the whistle. I couldn't afford life, and I couldn't even get through the day without just uncontrollable tears coming down my face. I have had multiple depressive episodes up until this point. This one was a turning point for me because, unlike depressive episodes of the past, I had a reason to live. And I knew that. And I remember just like very early pregnancy days saying, it's okay. I'm going to keep you safe. We're going to get through this. I had lost all relationship with my family. My mother wasn't speaking to me. My father wasn't speaking to me. This is the result of mania, right? Mm-hmm. We go and we live this grandiose life. And meanwhile, our world is crumbling around us and we don't realize it until we wake up one day. So I have the baby. My darling baby is born August 13th. That was for her birthday. August 18th, 2013. My God.
That's the ultimate mother. Okay. Trust me.
And I only have one. Like, you would think it'd be easy to remember.
Yeah. No.
Pregnancy was a gift. Pregnancy somehow regulated my hormones, even though most women, it does the opposite. Repaired my relationship with my mother. I really found this place of equilibrium. I didn't drink. I took care of myself. I did all the doctor's appointments, and I was really excited to have this baby. My mom came out for her birth, and things were just in this kind of little cocoon of regulation and happiness. And I had gotten a new job because I knew I needed more money. So that's when I kind of broke into the hotel world, and I had this great job, this great trajectory. They had me on a path to director role type of thing. I had great daycare for Annabelle. Her real name's Annabelle. In the book, it's Lily. So if I go back and forth, that's why.
Our daughter's name is Lily.
Name. So, and then the new job asked me if I could go to a sales training in April of 2014. And this training changed the trajectory of our lives. At this training, I met Patrick. Patrick was suave. He had these really cool glasses. He knew exactly the right thing to say. He was sexy. He was charming. He was complimentary. And he wooed me off my feet in this sales training in Houston. I won't go into the details of it. You can read the book for that. But once I got back to Annapolis, Maryland, which was end of April, we had plans to move to Texas to be with Patrick by June, 2 months later. And that trip to Texas started 3 years of chaos. Jail visits, arrests, police to the house, drunk driving incidents, narcissistic abuse. The list is just endless. I don't have a relationship with my parents anymore. I can't afford to where I live anymore. The cycle just keeps continuing and continuing. I haven't talked about my drinking in a little bit. In these periods of crisis, I wasn't drinking. I had to protect me and my daughter from this relationship and from this man, and I wasn't drinking. And then ultimately, this relationship combusted, quite literally combusted. And that's when my drinking took a turn and picked up again. So this would have been about years 2015 to 2017. I could give a shit about going to happy hour with my girlfriends from work. I cared about downing a bottle of wine in my closet after Annabelle went to bed. Right? Like, this was what I needed to erase. And I started living this kind of, I think we hear like the high functional term a lot. I don't know if that's like a buzzword or cliche, but I was still able to grow my career. I was able to grow my salary. I was able to do certain things to kind of appear as though we were progressing. I was able to be in an industry where my drinking was normalized. At this point I was traveling the world every other week, or country every other week, and, wining and dining and things like that. So I could do that on the exterior and then still go home and drown myself in drinking. And it never stopped. I never thought I had an issue. There was zero awareness at this time. I was, like I said, surrounded by people who I thought were doing the same thing, and therefore completely justified in my behavior. I remember, for years I would take Annabelle, like we would just take Ubers. And I thought I was so responsible because, well, I was bringing her car seat, and that's totally responsible parenting, right? And that was how we lived. And I would always make sure to pick quote unquote family friendly places, right? So she would have her crayons or her Kindle or whatever, and I could do my thing. And I mean, she's been to more bars than probably most adults have before she was 5 years old. That's a period of my life post Patrick. This period of my life probably brings me the most shame, second to what happened when I was with Patrick. And then I got a really cool opportunity to go to Paris. I was awarded like a top salesperson for Hyatt, and I had a trip to Paris, and I could bring a guest, and I wanted to bring Annabelle. I wanted her to be my guest. And this trip, I mean, it's the city of love, city of lights for a reason. I like to say that I found true love in Paris. Like my priorities just shifted. Like it became so abundantly clear to me, like what it was to be a mom, what it was to be a parent, watching my daughter dance ballet at the opera house and eat macaroons and, drink French hot cocoa and play with the clowns by the Louvre and, do all these amazing things. And it occurred to me, like, while I was in Paris, that maybe happiness isn't just this one big grandiose thing that you've been chasing your whole life. Maybe it's just one pearl strung one at a time on a necklace. And so that was really life-changing for me, Paris. And so we came home, and life didn't flip, all at once, but there was a stronger draw for me to stay home, for me to be with her, to be a mom. I looked forward to playing pretend cupcake making or drawing, ladybugs or whatever it is that you do with the 3 or 4-year-old, 4-year-old at this point. I still had nights when I drank myself into blackout. I still had, itches to kind of go out and date random men and do these things. But there was a shift. And the biggest shift happened on July 3rd, 2018. And it was a big celebration in Texas, Kaboom Town, they call it. And it was the July 4th celebration. And I had like really hoped I was going to have like a Bumble date or a Tinder date or something to take to this event. And lo and behold, the day comes. I don't have a date. I did have a nanny. And I said, you know what? Like, you go for it, Louise. Like, you've been good, quote unquote, like you go for it. And so I did. I put myself in an Uber and I plopped myself in the middle of Kaboom Town. I went to a few bars. I was very modest with my drinking. If y'all have ever been to Dallas in summertime, it's like 1800 degrees. So I'm like, you know, I finally get to the point where I'm just tired and I'm sweaty and I'm like, this is stupid. Like I should have brought Annabelle, or I should just go home. And so I popped into this restaurant, Portofino's, to cool off. And I ordered a Prosecco. I remember I went to the bathroom, like tried to dry off, fix my lipstick, still wearing red back then. And I came back to the bar and I was just kind of like sitting there scrolling on my phone, just looking into the lives of, you know, strangers basically. And I remember like I felt this kind of presence, and I kind of sat up and I turned over my left shoulder, and it was like, I don't know if you guys remember the People magazine 2015 cover of David Beckham. He was like smoking hot in 2015.
I
Like,
remember.
He's got his like scrub, like, oh my gosh. So that's basically who was right behind me. And he started coming closer to me, and I was like, what is he doing? And then I kind of looked, he must be meeting somebody. Like, obviously there's a beautiful woman at this bar. Like, he's going to meet somebody. I look around, there's nobody at the bar. And then he comes and he sits down next to me. And I'm like, oh my God, Louise, keep it chill. Like, it's okay. Keep it chill. Whew, okay. All right. And I was like, just play it cool. And I kind of just looked at him, and he looked at me, and he said, hello, in his English accent. So this man is gorgeous. He has an English accent, and I just like died. And I just said hi. That was like our amazing first conversation. And we shared our first kiss midnight that night. And we were married July 3rd, 2022. So that is my husband, Martin, in the book. And he is the person who, among many things, put a mirror to my face. And this is now kind of where we'll get to kind of my sobriety story. Living with Martin and being with Martin put a mirror to my face in the sense that like I couldn't hide anymore, right? Like it was very, very apparent what my behaviors were. And as you know from my story, my drinking has kind of just gone up and down, up and down, up and down. I think so many of us can relate to COVID really just spinning things out of control for us. And I was no exception to that. My job basically didn't exist anymore. My husband was laid off, you know, Annabelle was home, and it was, it really turned very quickly. And I think that's the really insidious thing about alcoholism, is that the more times we cycle, the faster and deeper we go. And so this was fast and furious and deep and dark. And this is when I started drinking during the day. This is when I started hiding bottles in my office and kind of all of that behavior. And it just was like, the cycle was perpetual. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, you wake up at 4:00 in the morning, your heart's pounding. Oh my God, I would sneak to the kitchen to like chug whatever alcohol I could find just to go back to sleep. Then I'd wake up at 6:00 and say, I'm never doing that again. You know, today's the day. You can't do this again. And by 3:00, you've already convinced yourself we're going to do this all over again. Right. And that's the cycle. And it just goes over and over and over again. And I became very sober curious, because there was a physical dependency at this point. This wasn't just mental. And I had the awareness now. I wanted to change my behavior and I couldn't. And so I explored dry January. I actually did okay with that. The 30 days went right back to everything, you know, February 1st. I played with all, you guys know all the rules, like one drink a night, only on weekends, only beer and wine. Like, I mean, you name it, we tried it, nothing worked. And it was May 15th, 2021. We had plans to go out with our friends, and I was very intentional about wanting to get hammered that night. Like, it was a choice. I said, you're driving, I'm drinking. I've been so good lately. And I did just that, right? I drank all the martinis, came home, and I said, come on, babe, let's have one nightcap, because nightcap is classy, right? And he's like, oh, I don't want to. My husband doesn't drink. Like, he's like a once a month beer type of guy. He's like, oh, I don't want to. I just want to go to bed. I have an early morning. I was like, no. Like, have one more with me. So I handed him a beer. He went out onto the patio. I opened the fridge and I grabbed this. It was like a mojito malt beer, something somebody had left in our fridge. And so I chugged it. I opened it up because I would normally chug a whole one, and then I grab like the second one so he wouldn't see, that I had done the second one. So I open it up. I'm standing at the sink, and I put it to my mouth, and I started to chug, and the whole thing just spewed out of me. And it spewed out of me because it tasted absolutely revolting. And I was so confused. I was like, so I look at the bottle, I kind of see the bubbles in there. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, what is this? And as I'm just kind of like taking this moment in and like feeling the sensations in my body, I poured it down the drain. And I knew in that moment, this unremarkable moment, that was my last sip of alcohol. And the next morning I wake up hungover, same old story. And I put on my gym clothes. I went upstairs to try to work out because I always would, try to torture myself into that. And I remember looking at the mirror and saying, this is it. You are done. You're declaring this right now. And I came out of the gym, and we had an open concept house. So I'm like on the landing staring down at my husband in the living room. And what I describe as a very embellished Tony Award winning performance, I declared my sobriety for good. And that was May 16th, 2021, almost 5 years to the day. So,
that's incredible.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. I'm just processing everything, and the way you tell it is just, I saw moments where you were really struggling with some of those parts, right? And we kind of talked about this before, but that struggle is what tethers you. You don't ever want your story to be easy to tell. That's kind of a very superficial way of saying it, but it makes me think of, and I've told this on the podcast before, but I haven't said it to you. So my brother was in active addiction for 20 years, very similar to yours. Like he makes a joke when people are like, what was your drug of choice? And he's like, yes. They're like, what do you mean? He's like, whatever you're thinking. Yes. Right. Like all of the above. And he had more than relationship, but his was a big sex addiction too. But it roots from the same place, right? Just that feeling. And he has been sober for almost 6 years now.
Oh, yay.
I know. He lives in Dallas. We grew up in Texas. So when you said that, I was like, yes, I completely understand. But he tells me all of the time, I'm grateful for ending up homeless under a bridge. Like once upon a time, I used to be a victim of it. Like, you don't understand. I haven't eaten in a day. And long story short, my mom, single mom, gave us everything. We were financially poor, but in life rich. Yeah. He's like, and now it's my superpower. Like, of course, like I hate that I had to go through that. Like, I'm not saying like, yay, addiction, but he's like, I don't shy away from it. And I want to feel every minute of it. Our mom passed away a couple of years ago. And I remember him looking at me and saying, I don't want to use. This is the worst pain I've ever felt, but I want to sit here and I want to feel every single bit of it. I don't want to use. I want to be present in this moment. And your story really made me think about that too, especially seeing how you struggled with parts of it and talking about your daughter, because there comes this point in your journey, and whether it's addiction, mental health, anything, right? They're all under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
That it's not that you want the pain, but you're like, I need to feel all of this. Like you said, like that pouring the beer down the sink, it was literal, but also a metaphor for like, I'm done numbing out. And we ask a lot of people, like, what was your rock bottom? Some people have one, some people don't, some people have many, but it's almost indescribable, because you said the same thing. Like, there was a moment where it was like, 1 minute I am and I'm speaking from you, like that drunk idiot, because that's what he calls his former self, drunk idiot. He's like, and then the next moment I just knew.
Yeah.
I like this is never going to happen
There's always
again.
that switch. And Louise, you just described it. You just have that moment where you say, okay, enough's enough. I'm done with the bullshit. I can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, there's that routine of it. It's, what do they call it? Rinse, wash, repeat,
because
or whatever.
You have those moments before, maybe you do, but it's not the same.
It's always in the back of your mind, because there was many times throughout so many years where I knew what I was doing to myself. I knew what I was doing to my family. But you get to that point in the day, as you said, I was the same way at night for many years. I knew at 9 o'clock I was going to the bar. I was going to drink, whatever.
Going out of town. Oh, I have to work tomorrow, so I have to stay an extra day, but really going to the casino. Yeah, all of that.
But it was every night, and I thought, it's an every night thing. I'll be okay. And maybe I'll just do it on the weekends.
And your job, you got promoted and made more money throughout all of that.
And it was just,
so you're getting rewarded for your behavior.
But you're getting rewarded for the behavior.
Cool.
So you're thinking, it's okay. It's okay. I'm going to be fine.
I wear a suit to work.
At the back of your mind, how bad it is and what you're doing. And at some point you got to quit. You got to stop. You just don't know when it is. And, unfortunately for a lot of people, it goes so far that it's too late, and you can't, make it back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny you say, you talk about, I hear a lot of people that try to cut back, and, I've tried it. I'm sure you have too, but you always end up back in that fucking cycle where you're back to where, and as you put it, it gets worse, or it gets quicker to get to that point. Yeah. And sometimes there's no going back. So it's great that you had that, that moment where you put it in there and you said, this is it.
Yeah.
I had that same moment. This is it. And I'm done. And you haven't looked back.
Yeah.
Now you still got to do the work every fucking day, which I'm sure we'll talk about that. But yeah, having that moment of knowing that this is it. I am absolutely fucking done is amazing.
Yeah. And I'll say too, when you're talking about like looking good from the outside, other than like a weekend or a vacation, you weren't a daytime drinker like that. I mean, it sounds very responsible on the outside, but it actually led to your detriment, because he wasn't drunk going into work. He wasn't hiding beer breath going into work. He may have gotten drunk the night before, but you always went to work on time, every single meeting, never drank when you were supposed to be working. So you fool yourself into believing like, I only drink like after 5 or on my days off. Like I don't drink whenever I have like responsible things to do.
Exactly.
So
I'm getting promotions. I'm getting this.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, and it's not like that for everybody. I mean, some people do lose their jobs, but you convince yourself that like, well, if I can go this amount of time without drinking, then I don't have a problem, because, alcoholics, they drink as soon as they wake up.
Exactly.
The mental gymnastics that we do to convince ourselves we don't have a problem. Yeah. And I will touch really quickly on when you were talking about getting pregnant with your daughter. My story is different, but like I felt you in that moment. So I remember getting pregnant with Lily, and we met. When we met, we were two very broken people who latched onto each other. Yeah. Okay. Yep. And our story turned out good, but 0 out of 10 do not recommend. Okay. I don't recommend it. But I remember being pregnant, and I was probably 18 to 20 weeks pregnant. I don't remember. And I had a moment. His drinking had gotten so bad, and my mental health had gotten so bad. My mom's mental health, my brother's, like everything, right? And I was in a victim mentality. And I remember like just sitting down in my closet because I was putting clothes away, and like I could feel her kicking and everything. And it completely broke down. And I thought, I have done every single thing that my mother taught me not to do and that I never wanted to do. Like, we had the money, we had the house, we had all the things, but I was like, I have married an alcoholic. You do not identify as an alcoholic. So I want to be clear that like, I'm not putting that on you. This is my own internal monologue.
I always said I was an alcoholic. So
oh, I know. But like, I try to avoid,
alcoholic.
but I try to avoid
the label,
putting the label on other people. So I like to clarify for people listening, this is my internal monologue speaking to myself. I'm like, I've married an alcoholic. I'm going to bring a child into the world, because mine and my brother's dads were alcoholics and weren't around. And what have I done? That same where you wake up the next morning and you look around and you're like, how did I get here? And it's not even, I wasn't like in the projects or, you know, strung out. Like, we were in a nice home and you had a great job and I had a beautiful car. Like, by all accounts on paper, everybody's like, you have the life, right? And I remember, and this will be a little controversial, but I called an abortion clinic in Atlanta that went up to like 25 weeks. Crying, feeling her move inside of me, and made an appointment. Obviously, I did not go through with it, but like, I remember in that moment, I wasn't acting out of even fear. I was acting out of what I thought was love. Like, the best. Like, I was like, I had no business doing this another human being into this. And I just remember holding my stomach, feeling her move, making this appointment, and just being so just, what have I done? Now, I did not do that. We stayed together. It worked out in the end. But like, when you were talking about waking up and you're pregnant and you get like, again, mine is different, but like that, like, I mean, that about had me in tears because it took me back there. And I not only empathize, but can feel in my bones what you were talking about when you're like, everything all of a sudden, like, the colors change. It's like, you know, everything changes, you know, in that movie Pleasantville, when like they wake up and like all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, what is this? That's how it feels. Like, you recognize where you are.
And that
but
was
it doesn't look the same.
And that was a really great way of putting that, Louise, when you said that, because I thought about that too. It's like, you know, this, when you get in sobriety, it does, everything changes, right? The way you see things, the way things taste, feel, your feelings, everything. That is a really great way of putting it.
It is. But you know, as a woman and as a mom, I felt that too. So, and I don't even think I told you about that until much later.
Yeah, it was much later that I found out.
I just love that gray area of love, though, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, what you're sharing right now is very personal and very deep. And like, it all comes from a place of love, right?
Yes.
And it's interesting because I sought out an adoption agency. I met with them a couple of times.
Same thing.
Obviously, different outcome. But yeah, and it was all in this just like frantic attempt because like we're just trying to survive. And you were at a point in your life where like things weren't sustainable. And so we're just panicking, trying to figure out like, how are we going to survive and what is the best thing for this human?
And you don't divorce yourself from your kids either. So you're like, okay, it felt like I was playing house with everything up until that point. And now I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, what? No. So yeah, I totally, and I only have one. He has children from another previous relationship, and we have a beautifully blended family. But Lily was actually the one that pushed you over that edge to get sober too.
How old is Lily now?
15.
Oh, she's 15. Okay, so Annabelle's almost 13. So they're close.
They're right there in it together. But I've always appreciated that she's seen that evolution in us. Because it teaches them a lot too. So, yeah. I mean, you as a dad, you've always been a fantastic dad. And, you know,
Thank
when
I don't feel that way, but I've grown into that.
well, but
role.
you have, and the openness that you show with Lily, which I'm sure you show with your daughter too. Like, I used to always think, oh my gosh, what kind of example are we showing her? But now it's like she sees how much you've changed, and it just shows her that no matter what she goes through, it's never too late. And you can
it's never too late, and you can always change. That's
and
for
always
sure.
talk. So like, I had to touch on that because like I felt that in my bones for sure.
I love that.
Yeah. So after, you know, you've decided that the drinking is completely done. And, you know, you and I have discussed this before about what really, you know, your sobriety actual journey, like what started you on that. If you could tell everybody about that, because I love it's a little, you know, it's different.
It is.
Which is great because there is no one size fits all, right?
No,
there's not. I think it's an important to just note that I was officially diagnosed in 2015 and started medication in 2015. I'm not going to take you through that journey, but that's kind of when I got my official diagnosis. So when I got sober, I went into full-blown mania, full-blown medicated mania. And what was so fascinating about this period of mania is that it was the first time that I could see that I could harness my mania for good, right? It could become a superpower because I'm looking at everything that I'm doing and I'm like, well, these are all really good, productive, healthy things. So let me tell you what the things are. So I had started a personal growth journey January, so 6 months before I got sober. And I had kind of started to just surround myself by the big titans in that area, right? And when I got sober, that was like, okay, flip the switch on. And so I quite literally brainwashed myself. And so that included listening to every podcast I possibly could with all of their stories. Laura McCowan, Annie Grace, were kind of my top two at the time that I would listen to a ton. Rob Dial was big on there. Jay Shetty was big on there. Sobriety is what gifted me the gift of being an avid reader. And so I started.
Same.
Right? Yeah. So I just started like reading every nonfiction personal development book that I could get my hands on. I remember so I would be at the dinner table with Annabelle and my husband, and I would I don't think they said two words. Like I would just be like, oh my God, did you know that the alcohol industry and this, and did you know? And like, blah, blah. Like rapid speech, right? And it was just my entire life. It became my entire life. I was trying to create change within Hilton, who I was working for at the time, Fortune 100 company, like thinking that I could change everything. So again, grandiose thinking, but we're being productive, right? These are good things. So I was listening to Jay's podcast on purpose. I had already read his first book, Think Like a Monk. And that book is just, he's such a grounded communicator and he's wonderful in so many ways. But that book, among many things, really started to open up this idea for me that I had the gift to identify what my skills are and figure out how I could apply those in an area of passion and make money doing it. And if I do this all in a place of service, then I'm going to be living in my purpose. And so this was an idea to me that was very, very appealing, to create that sort of life. And I was out for a run September 4th, 2021. And I heard Jay talk on the podcast about his school, his certification school. And I remember stopping dead in the middle of the sidewalk. And I just was like, I have no idea what that is, but I'm pretty damn sure that's going to get me closer to where I want to be. And I enrolled in the school. Again, big $ purchase. I didn't really talk a lot about how much money I've spent in Mania, but it's a lot. So this was another big chunk of change that I didn't discuss with my husband, and I just did it. And I started the program, and with no intention to become a coach. I was just like, I'm going to become a better mom, a better, version of myself, a better spouse. And through the program, it became everything kind of started to click into place. Like, oh, okay, I don't need to help people on an enterprise level. I can help individuals. And so I kind of shifted my perspective of the program to having that desire to actually take on clients upon graduation, not just like get the certification. And so I, you go through a lot of imposter syndrome too. I think a lot of people in sobriety have this desire to help other people, but we hold ourselves back because we're like, who am I to do this? I'm only 4 months sober. Like, nobody's going to listen to me. Like, that's fucking bullshit. You go help people because you have a story and you have lived experience and you can help people. And so that's something that I had to get over. And I did. So I started serving mostly individuals in like the corporate space, women and, upper management that were struggling in sobriety and addiction. And that kind of morphed into, I morphed into more of a group coaching environment, which really allowed me, like we're taking full circle to this conversation, like really allowed me to serve people, on a larger scale, but I could lower my price points so I could become more accessible and things like that. And then what it did for me, because my brain's very busy, like I needed to still be creating. I couldn't just be coaching. And so that's when I started the podcast. And then I feel like we're full circle now because then I eventually started the book. And I do actually contract for Jay Shetty too. So I'm on his team for the school. And I do that part-time as well.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
And you're so right. I think that people in recovery, you do end up in some way working or immersing yourself in that because it is your identity. Like you I feel like at first you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want it to be my whole identity. Like nobody's going to want to hang out with me. Everybody's going to be like, oh, you're no more fun. And then there's a point where you just don't give a shit anymore. You're like, you know what? I might not be any fun to you because our versions of fun are very different. And it is my identity. And
it's who you really are.
And I
genuine
embrace
self.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, same thing with our podcast. He's like, maybe we should start a podcast. We have a story to tell. And the podcast actually was just supposed to be him talking about sobriety and maybe sports and stuff like that. And he came to me and he's like, it's us.
It was boring myself.
It was us. Yeah.
But then when we got on and told our story, it really developed into something because it was like we helped each other.
Yeah.
And then we would bring friends of mine on and people would take notice and it was helping them because maybe somebody they knew was struggling and they said, hey, you may want to check this out and listen to their story. It kind of sounds like you. And then they resonate with it. And it's just like this big snowball, right? It just builds and builds and builds.
We got a lot of people too. Today. Like they'd be like, they would reach out to me as a loved one, you know, or say things like, I'm in a relationship. And we try to avoid giving people telling people what to do, right? Yeah. When we give people advice, it's more about like, go to meetings, be part of a community. But we really try to shy away, and you will appreciate this from coaching. Like, you don't ever want to, like, we are not a missionary for sobriety, right? Like I am never going to tell someone like, you need to stop drinking. Right. You need to do this. No. Most of our friends still drink. I don't think that if you drink or even use drugs, I don't think you're a bad person. I don't think it's that black and white. But we're here for people who want that help or even just considering it. And I think what really attracted people to us is we have this relationship. And our relationship was horrible for 13 years. I mean, horrible. I just recently told him, I was like, I know that like I loved you before you got sober. I said, but I think I'm realizing now that I may never have actually been in love with you like I thought that I was. Yeah. And it's true because I'm like, the love I feel for you now, it couldn't be more different than the love I felt for you before. And you talk about love like that too. It's not just hearts and roses and flowers.
Nope.
It's not. And so, like you have a story, and no matter how crazy or intrusive you think your thoughts are, there are literally thousands or millions of other people out there who are having the same thoughts.
Yes.
You are not alone. I promise.
So
Like, I guarantee it. Okay. It's the only thing I can guarantee.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it can really become so validating. And I think we were talking about the podcast platform before. I think it is such a valuable resource for people seeking sobriety, because you can just do it so privately. You can just kind of, it can be a really tricky process to navigate, especially if you're doing it alone without the support of loved ones or family or friends. And so to just be able to dive in, and like we said, you might only actually relate to 11% of this whole conversation, but that 11% is so valuable.
Yeah. And you realize too that finding things that don't work for you and that you don't relate with are just as valuable as the things you do, right? Because that's what not just what recovery, like that's what life is about. Like we teach our daughter, you're going to make mistakes, and I encourage that. Just don't be a repeat offender. Like keep failing and keep making mistakes. Just make them different until you figure out what works for you. Just don't keep making the same ones. And that's the same thing with addiction and mental health. At some point you're like,
recovery.
Why do I keep doing the same shit over and over again and think it's going to turn out different?
And stay in that lane.
That means I am clinically insane. Okay.
Literally.
Literally. So, and I like how you touched on when you were pregnant, you said that your hormones sort of leveled you out. So I know when you finally decided to quit, you had, you went into mania, but do you think some of that during pregnancy was just, I don't have these, and you had a clear focus on your daughter, so it sort of just tethered that in? Or do you think it was really more just hormonal balance?
It's such a great question. It's obviously impossible to know, but I will say mania and depression, they don't just happen randomly. Like they are triggered, right? Even though it is a quite literally a brain disorder, like it's still triggered by things. And so I think, to your point, it was like my understanding to create life, right? And to make sure that like me and my daughter could survive overrode that. I think, I mean, I don't really
who knows?
know.
And then you didn't have alcohol or drugs on top of that, sort of clouding that. When you were talking about that, I was curious. And of course, you don't know, but I don't think it's a coincidence that when you were pregnant, you felt clear-headed, right?
Exactly.
Like, I think that's like,
I say all the time, I mean, I was diagnosed in 2015, right? Been medicated since. I got sober in 2021. I didn't talk about this and I won't get into it, but I had an 8-month very serious depression in 2024. So I like to say that I've been stable for 2 years.
Right.
That's crazy. you know?
I hear that. I mean, and I always say when people are like, oh, it's all in your head. Right.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's all in your head.
I'm aware that's the problem. If it were in my toe, it wouldn't be such a big deal. Okay.
And now we're living in perimenopause, so just game over. Like, just forget about it.
Right. It's always a guessing game. Yeah. I'm like, am I about to start my period? Am I in perimenopause? Am I pissed off at my daughter? Like, what's going on right now? I don't know.
Yeah, I just give up now.
And this poor guy over here, he has 2 women who have synced up, and he's just like,
oh my God.
Yeah, they got to go out of town every other week.
I love it.
He'll come back, and it's sometimes we'll gang up on him. Like, I remember, and this is just a quick little funny story, but you were out of town or at home. It doesn't really matter. And she and I, like, we get our nails done together, and we went out to eat or something. Like, we have these little things that we do. And you had called me because I think it was just taking longer than usual. You weren't calling like, where are you? How long are you going to be? You just noticed that the task we were doing was taking a while. So you're like, is everything okay? And so you called and you're on Apple CarPlay, and our daughter picks up and she goes, Dad, why are you calling? Like, oh my God, can you like leave her alone? Like, do you think she's out here like cheating on you? Like, oh my God.
I just want to get some fucking food. I'm
And
hungry.
I said, Lily, I don't think he's trying. I think he's just like, hey, I noticed you're gone. He's just like, okay. And if we wanted to be gone all day, like, what is the problem? Like, do you not have anything better to do with your time than worry about where mom is? And in that moment, I was just like, do I have a little like backup over here?
That's right.
Yeah.
Little hype man.
So I do say sometimes I feel bad for him because, it's a lot. But yeah, like I was thinking about when you were pregnant, and I don't think that is a coincidence. And I thought that was interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, before we get you out of here and hear again about everything that you're doing, we ask all our guests the same question to kind of tie it up in a bow. You got to give us an old, funny drinking story.
They're never funny like now that you're sober. That's the problem.
It's just something to remind you that you have to look back and laugh at yourself because life is just hard. Like you cannot hold everything against yourself.
Okay. The time I almost lost my job from drinking, I used to long distance run. So I had done like a 20-mile run on a Saturday where it was football. So on a Sunday morning, and I was completely disoriented and I lost my car. I couldn't find it. I had parked it on the streets of Dallas somewhere, and I lost it. I couldn't find it.
Dude, where's my car?
I spent the rest of the afternoon trying to find the car. Couldn't find it. I was also anorexia is a big part of my story, so I was also underfueled at this point as well. And then I couldn't find the car. I'm so distraught. So I'm so upset, panicked, everything. I took my Klonopin prescribed. And then I had to get ready because we were going to the Cowboys game. We used to take clients to the Cowboys game like all the time, but we were tailgating first before we got to the game. So per usual, I needed a couple drinks even before I started the tailgate before the game. So I got I don't know how I got there, but I got there and proceeded to start just taking tequila shots with all the clients. Thinking it was fine. I have no memory of even getting into the stadium. All I know is that the executive vice president of sales for Hyatt threw me into the back seat of an Uber, presumably, somehow got my address and told them to take me home. And I woke up this next morning. I don't think this is funny, just like for the record. This is like mortifying. But I think this is such an interesting story because this story was celebrated. Like after the fact. Like my boss almost fired me. I mean, I say that, but he didn't really. Like this story was like, ha ha, Louise got so drunk. Like I don't actually know that I've ever been that drunk, like to be
just blacked out.
Like blacked out in a cab, like off you go. No. I mean, the number of times if my daughter needed me, I don't want to think about, but I think it's so interesting that like that story is like the ha funny story. And this is one of these conversations that like, it's not one that I kind of talk about a lot because I've kind of moved past the hospitality industry. I'm just kind of doing different things in my life. But this is the norm. And like, this is one of those examples where I only blame myself, of course, but to have that reinforced, like, and not even question your behavior, I just think it's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I love that spin on the drunken story.
Yeah.
That is the first time we've had one of those, but I love that you do that because
everybody else thinks it's fun, but in the back of your mind, you're like, wait a minute.
But
fuck?
The whole point of the drunken story at the end is so that people remember that this can be very, very heavy and that you cannot continue to blame yourself forever and get stuck in this like self-destructive cycle where you're like, I was such a piece of shit. Oh my gosh. And all this. So it's the same because what you're saying is, it was humiliating and I was embarrassed and I only had myself to blame. But at the same time, did I only have myself to blame? Because there's this other component of society that, it's not to take the blame off of us. I mean, we are in control, but life most certainly encourages you to use and drink.
Yeah.
So I like that spin. And that's the whole point of the story, though, is to remember, like, you're not a bad person. You don't need to be fixed because you're not broken.
Well, you're in control until you're not in control. And that's the other thing too, is that, you know, you get taken over by alcohol, drugs, you know, whatever.
And allow yourself leniency. Like, some of our best, most romantic, amazing times in life happened while we were drinking. Multiple things can exist.
That's right.
Multiple
dialectic.
things. Yeah, they can exist at the same time. So that was the whole point. I love that spin on it. I love when guests use it to do a different perspective. So
and I found the car 4 days later. By the way.
There's the funny part.
Where's my car?
Okay, and there's the humor. There's the humor.
So you just tied it up in a bow. I mean, it's perfect. It took you 4 days to find it.
I will never understand the full extent of that story. I don't know.
Right.
So was it like in an obvious place, though? I mean, it took you 4 days. That's even better. 4 days to find your car.
The only thing that would have been funnier than that, and you'd be like, I still don't know where that damn car is.
Louise, that is phenomenal. I love that.
And as much as we've been to Dallas and I grew up in Texas, like, losing your car in Dallas is like the worst place to lose it.
And can be easy to do. Oh my God.
That's great. That's great.
Well, Louise, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Again, remind everybody where they can find you, the book, the podcast, everything.
Yeah, totally. Louise Barnett, Tainted Love, a Bipolar Memoir, comes out officially October 6th. If you want early access to it, I would be happy to give it to you. Just head to my website at www.louisebarnett.com. That is where all of my links to socials are and everything like that. And what I like to do on social media is really try to kind of just like talk about the gray area of things. So you might see me like saying things that are a bit controversial, mostly about love, about bipolar, and about addiction.
Love it.
Love it. Oh my gosh, Louise, your story is amazing. I know it resonated with so many people, and just keep being you, girl.
That's right.
Because you're pretty awesome.
So much.
And you're coaching as well. I'm sure they can find you at the website as well.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, Louise, thank you so much for joining us. This was awesome. Really appreciate it. We loved hearing your story.
And never stop wearing red. Your color.
That's right.
I'm going to have you in the back of my head all the time. Just like, oh, she told me to keep wearing red. So.
That's right. That's right. Thanks, Louise.
Thanks, Louise. We'll
have
talk
a good
to you
weekend.
soon. Appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.
If you love the podcast, which I know you do, please like, subscribe,
and hit that notification bell to
Boom.
get notified every time we post.
That's right. Dropping them, baby. Word.